Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about adding integers, and we're going to be using models. The two types of models we're going to be talking about are number lines and chips. We're going to start with chips and then we'll move on to number lines. And this is how you model adding with integers, so negatives and positives. Okay, so before we get started with actually adding with our models, we are going to talk about some vocabulary. The first word we're going to talk about is additive inverse. An additive inverse is a number that is added to a number that will equal 0. So sometimes you can hear this maybe called a zero pair, but it's also known as an additive inverse. An integer, that is a term that we have learned before, and that is a set of numbers and their opposites. So like if you've got 4, its opposite would be -4. Those are all integers. Zero pairs, so zero pair is an integer and its opposite. So for example, if you have a +1 and a -1, those would be zero pairs because their sum is equal to 0. So if you were to add those two numbers together, you get 0. Absolute value is the next word, and that is a number's distance from 0 on a number line. Okay, so how do we use integer chips to find the sum? So if we're going to add integers and we're representing that with chips, how do we do that? So step 1, so the first thing you're going to do is show the first number in chips. Step 2 is you're going to show the second number in chips. Step 3 is you're going to cross out any zero pairs, which we referred to in the first slide. And step 4 is the remaining number of chips is going to be your answers. So when we go to actually draw these chips, because we don't have physical chips in front of us, we can use the negative sign to represent negative numbers and then the positive sign to represent positive numbers. Typically you'll see them, the negatives are usually red and the positives are usually yellow, but it's okay if you don't have those exact colors to use. You can just use your negative and your plus to represent positives and negatives. Okay, so here we're going to talk about some examples of using chips and how to get your answer. So if we take a look at this first problem, we've got +4 plus -2, and we get the answer +2. So how did we get that? Well, remember the steps from above. The first step is to draw in chips, with chips, your first number. So our first number was +4. So you can see right here, we put 4 positive chips. That represents +4. The second step is to draw with chips your second number, which is -2. So here you can see right below it we have -2. We have 2 negative chips. The third step, remember, is to cross out any zero pairs. So remember, we said that a zero pair is an integer and its opposite, because when you add those two things together, their sum is 0. So when we're talking about chips, we're talking about a +1, and its opposite, which would be a -1. So anytime you see a +1 and a -1, you could cross them out together. So they did that here. They crossed out this first zero pair, then a second zero pair. There's no other zero pairs. So once you cross out all of your zero pairs, your answer will remain, which is 2 positive chips, which gives us our answer +2. Okay, let's take a look at another one really quickly. So for this next one, they started with +3 and they added -5 and their answer was -2. So they modeled their first number here, which was +3 with 3 positive chips. Then they modeled their second number here, which was -5 with 5 negative chips. They crossed out their zero pairs all the way. And then once all of their zero pairs were crossed out, their answer remained, which is here, -2 chips. 2 negative chips were left, so that was their answer. Okay, so you can take a look at the rest of these models to see what the answers were, but we're going to do some practice together on the next slide. All right, so let's take a look at this one. This one says +9 plus -2. So remember, step 1 is going to model your first number. So our first number was +9. So we're going to write 9 positive signs to represent the integer 9. Okay, so I have my 9 positive chips. The second thing is right underneath it, we're going to model our second number. So our second number is -2. So I'm going to do 2 negative chips. My third step is to cross out any 0 pairs. So I can see that I have a 0 pair here and a 0 pair here, and that's it. So my answer will remain, which when I look is going to be +7. So our answer is +7. All right, let's take a look at this next one. So we're going to model our first number, which is -3. So -3 with chips. Got my 3 negatives. My second number is -2. So again, right underneath it, -2. Oh, wait. My third step is to cross out 0 pairs. I don't have any 0 pairs to cross out here. So I skip to my next step, which is my answer remains. So if I look here, I have 5 negatives. That is my answer. My answer to -3 plus -2 is -5. Okay, I want you guys in just a second to pause this video and do the next 2 slides on your own, and then come back to this video to check your answer. Okay, for this next one, I've got my -4 chips up top for my first integer, and my +8 chips down below for my second integer. When I cross out my 0 pairs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, I am left with my final answer, which is +4. So my answer is 4. All right, and for this next one, I've got my +5 up top, my -6 below. When I make my 0 pairs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my answer remains, which is -1. All right, now we're going to talk about using a number line to add integers instead of chips. So how would we represent that? So the rules that we're going to be using is we are going to start at the first integer in the problem. So for this one, we started at -3, which is here. And then we are going to move in the number of places of the second number in the correct direction. So if the second number is a positive, you're going to be moving towards the right in the positive direction. And if your second number is a negative, you're going to move to the left in the negative direction. Where your arrow ends is your answer. So we started at -3, and then since -6, since the second number is a negative, we're going to move in the negative direction 6 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which makes us land on our answer, which is -9. Okay, so let's take a look at this next problem. It's -3 plus 7. So we're going to start at -3. And since our second number is a positive, we're going to move in the positive direction, so to the right, 7 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which will land on our answer, which is +4. So -3 plus 7 is 4. Okay, for this next one, we're starting on +1. And since our second number is a negative, we're going to move in the negative direction 2 spaces, 1, 2, which gives us our answer, which is -1. All right, let's do another one together. So for the next one, we're starting at -1, and then we're going to move, since this is a -5, we're going to move in the negative direction, so to the left, 5 spaces to land on our answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer here is -6. I want you to pause this video, do the next 2 problems that are on the next slide, and then come back to the video to check your work. Okay, so for this next one, we're going to start on +4 and move in the negative direction 8 spaces. So we're going to go to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is -4. So 4 plus -8 is -4. And the next one, -5 is where we're going to start, and we're going to go in the positive direction 10 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which makes us land on +5. So -5 plus 10 is 5. So this was just a way to model adding with integer chips and on the number line. Yes, we need you to draw your chips, and yes, we need you to draw the number line exactly how we've done it.